Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. It's Trendy John here at Simpler Trading. Before we get started with this week's broad market analysis, please go ahead and hit that like button. And if anyone is looking for a process that you believe this could help them, please share this video with them. Let's go ahead and get started with this week's broad market analysis. Well, let's talk just for 1 second, though, right? There is a lot of noise, and I don't know if it's just because I've been doing this a long time, but I don't want to start this video off by saying I told you so. And I'm surely not going to brag. I feel as if we have talked week after week. We talked about the distance or the deviation between price and the 9 EMA. I had several sessions specifically talking about the pullback. And I mean, listen, we got a pullback, guys. The question is it going to be bought or is it not? And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the technicals here and leave out the news. All right. And we're going to trade the same way we do every single week. All right. So let's get started. US economic calendar was really interesting about this week. And we're just going to scroll down to the bottom here. I want to make sure that everybody knows this, that the data is subject to delay if government shutdown continues. Okay. So it won't be available. So a lot of stuff on here could be talked about, or maybe it doesn't. But what I do know, if it does, holy moly, Thursday is like crazy busy. But let's start up here with Monday, Columbus Day holiday, and then we have someone speaking. On Tuesday, we have, the index here, optimism index, and then we have, again, Fed speakers. Okay. Wednesday, Empire State Manufacturing Survey, and then again, a lot of people speaking, the Fed Beige Book. And then Thursday, I mean, it's nonstop in the morning. This could be an absolute crazy day, but again, a lot hinges on the government. So, and then Friday, again, guys, housing starts, permits, index, production, capacity, utilization. So the reason why I go over this is just so that you know, and you look at the times, and these aren't Eastern time, that they can create some volatility in the market. And obviously, we're coming off of Friday. I think there's going to be volatility regardless. Okay. So this week, expect volatility. I mean, it's really that simple. And what I would say, though, is don't change your process. Don't feel like you have to trade, but if you do and you're new at trading, or even if you're a veteran at trading, one thing that has always helped me is if the conditions are not favorable or you feel like they're a little scary, you could pull back. You still trade your process and your analysis, but maybe you pull back on the allocation amount just a tad bit, right? So that if you're wrong, it's not going to hurt that bad. But in volatile times, there's so much volatility that you can be right and wrong so quickly, but then you end up being right, but you got scared because you didn't position your size correctly for volatility. So I always like to say a little goes a long way in a volatile market. That's my 2 cents from how I've traded in the past. Okay. Now, after we get done with the economic calendar, we like to come in here and then we are going to pay attention to this week's earnings. Now, from my standpoint, I believe that the catalyst that, came down was simply, a catalyst to push price back into the 9 EMA and possibly some buy zones. And we'll get to that here shortly. But one thing that we want to focus on is financials, right? So financials were right around the corner. We talked about this last week. And now, the market kind of got this really nice reset. And even if it wants to pull back a little bit more, for me, it's perfect timing because we're coming into earnings. And I would much rather have a pullback into earnings than an earnings that is at the top of the market. So, again, guys, there is a lot of positive about the pullback. And I hope you can see that for right now. Okay. On this week's calendar, we have quite a few names here that you're probably interested in. At least I am. I know that we're currently in a Goldman Sachs trade for earnings in the room. And I wanted to take a quick look at that specific trade because on Friday, and we'll see where we open up. But on Friday, we could have closed the put side. So we did a put debit and we did the call debits, and the put debits are at about 120% right now. So I will address that tomorrow because they are reporting Tuesday morning, and so I will most likely close that trade since it's already up nicely, but we'll see. So don't forget to ask me, okay? And then you guys can see Citi, JPM, BlackRock, Johnson and Johnson. These are just some names that I could be interested in trading into earnings. I'll look to see if there's any value in buying the way that I buy into earnings. If there's anything there on the charts, and if there is, I'll let you know. But if there's something on here that I don't talk about and you would like a trade plan for, just reach out in the room and I'll happily go over that. Okay. So we are in summary, we're starting out the financials this week. The pullback was very nice and timed. I love it. I like the opportunity that I think that it could present. I'm not saying that it will come tonight. Maybe it will. We'll see. Okay. All right, so moving on, let's get into the bigger picture. The big picture is going to be here. Let's pull this over here. The big picture on the SPY is the quarterly, and we came about $2 from my projection here. And then we pulled back. And again, I don't want to go over this too much because I feel like I've really been hitting on this. We still have a lot of deviation between price and the 9 EMA. I still believe that we end up in this box before the end of the year. It's just a matter of looking at some a little bit smaller charts and seeing if we're getting close to an area where I think we could bounce. On Friday, the candles weren't that great. When I come over here and look, what I mean by not great is that we did not have what I call a flush low. It doesn't mean that we can't have a sizable bounce tonight, but we didn't have a flush low. We closed on the lows, if you will. And we closed very close to the 9 EMA, folks. So I love this. Very, very close here. This would be a play for me regardless to try and take this trade. The way that I approach SPY before, actually, I think we bought these in the room. You had that 15-minute period when the market closes. You could still buy SPY and SPX. I went ahead and did like a neutral strangle type trade where I am buying puts and calls because the volatility is increasing. And we're at a point where we could wake up, or sorry, not wake up. We could see tonight that we have a big gap down or possibly a really big gap up. And I just wanted to play both sides of that and, see if we actually get a move. Now, there's also a possibility the market kind of opens up flat. And what that would do is anyone took advantage of buying even calls and or puts before the close, the premium could fall off and you're going to those positions will probably look pretty poor regardless. So we need some volatility is my point. We'll get deeper into the charts here in a few minutes, but at this time, I like to see a flush low. And just for anyone that's new, basically when the market's coming down, what I want to see is a sign of something like this, right? Where a lot of people basically get stopped out and then the market rallies back and this flush low, took a lot of traders out. Instead, again, we're just kind of closing on the lows, pretty close to an area where we could see a bounce. I don't want to sit here and predict. If you look at the banners for this week, we have a green bullish for the year as expected. The monthly has went to neutral and the weekly is bearish. We know that. So I'm very open-minded. Basically, I'm flexible and I would have to fall more into the neutral category going into this week. I'm not bullish and I'm not bearish. I'm just going to be open-minded and I'm going to take it, the way that it sets up for us. Okay. So anyways, that is SPY. A couple things from a Fibonacci standpoint. We pulled back. We broke the bullish channel. We actually closed underneath it. And our golden pocket from, and again, I am anchoring my Fibonacci's from 8.4 into the high. And this is where these fibs are coming from. The 50 and the 618 is your golden pocket. Somewhere in here, I would expect buyers to show up. Please understand if we flush this, that doesn't mean that on a weekly chart that we don't end up closing back above the 618. But far as the rally that started on the 8th, on 8-4, sorry, August the 4th, Far as this rally is concerned, it is not broken until prices close under the 618. Okay, so very big level going into this week would be 643, which you guys can see is only about $10 to the downside. Okay, again, it can be flushed, and what I would be looking for is a really nice flush low and then a reclaim of important levels to let me know that we're possibly going to move back up. Okay. So let's go ahead and move on now. We are going to take a look at the Qs. All right, so on the QQQ, same thing. I want to show you the big picture first. We did hit our projections. We talked about the 617 level. I still think we come up and hit 617 to possibly 630 before the end of the year. But, I'm also open-minded, and again, the 9 EMA is down here. I position myself very well coming into this cycle, I guess you could say. We were projecting it. And so I've moved almost every position that I had, which was pretty small positions, over to my wife's account, and then I was prepping this account to get ready for a challenge that's coming up. And remember, that challenge is going to start October the 23rd, and it's going to last until November the 23rd, and it's like perfect timing, in my opinion. So, again, we projected this. We wanted our challenge to be around this cycle, so you can kind of say that, hey, I think it's great timing if you're having a difficult time and you found yourself on the wrong side of the market. Let's see on the Qs again. It's an inside quarter at the moment. It just started. The bull channel is down at 563 by 532. Far as the quarterly is concerned, 563 is a major number for me. If we break down below that, we'll probably have some sort of, I'll probably do like a Thursday session at night. So I could just kind of catch everybody up and make sure, everybody's doing okay. Because listen, trading's fun, but a lot of us, we have, 401s and bigger accounts, and, people start getting a little bit concerned, but technicals are still very, very important that we go over those. So again, big picture, 563, we break down below there. We'll probably have some sort of meeting or session that I will have at night to talk about other things that we could be looking at. Okay. Before I move on, let me make sure I give you that number as well for SPY, because I told you the weekly. But far as SPY is concerned, I would have to say if we measure from the rally this year with fibs, going to come down here, go to the high. That number is going to be 629. Okay, so 629 if we break down below there. All right. Let's now get back over to the Qs and take a look at the weekly. And I wanted this broad market analysis to be pretty short and sweet, so I'll try to not talk too much. Here's the weekly. Again, I'm measuring from August the 4th into the high. We broke below the bullish channel. We are approaching the golden pocket, which is the 50 and 618. It is aligned also with the 9 EMA. So again, some nice confluence here. Could see a relief bounce. If we get a bounce this week, it's most likely just a relief bounce. If you've not watched my video, make sure you watch it. It's very important, okay, about relief bounces, especially in down markets. Yeah, so, guys, from a weekly, ugly candle. It closed as well towards the low, but we still have a little bit of room where we could see the market flush into before we see buyers step up. If buyers do step up, again, I think it's just a relief bounce until proven otherwise. Okay. All right. After the Qs, we want to take a look at the dollar. And again, been talking about this for a very long time. You know how I felt about it. I told you as soon as the dollar would go over 98.2 to be concerned, and you can see what happened. Once again, I'd like to reiterate this because I've heard some veteran traders who have been at it for many, many years tell people that the dollar has nothing, there's no correlation. I've heard this before, and I want to make sure that I reiterate it does. We found a zone. During this period, the markets looked really good. We came down into a buy zone. I expected the dollar to move to the upside. I then found this level, 98.20, and said, listen, over that, be cautious. The dollar rallied, the market pulled back really hard. But here's a positive. The dollar ran into the 23.6. And if you look at my video on relief bounces, this is where we would expect the dollar to stall. And potentially we may get that relief bounce tonight. But here's the next level you need to be worried about. 99.5, I want you to treat it like 98.20. Above it, be cautious. Below it, we could see a relief bounce. Under 98.20 again, we're relief bouncing still. It's not until we can pass the 618 to the upside in the market from the pullback that we had before things change. And I'm going to show you that here on another chart, the ES futures, here in a few minutes. Okay. So again, big levels, just went over them on the dollar. Please understand them. Next thing we're going to look at is going to be the 10-year treasury. So if we pull up the 10-year treasury, give me 1 second. I'm going to bring this over here. Pull that there. You can see here, you know, like I said, I'm not concerned unless we get over 5. And if we get down to 3.8, we'll talk about it then. My overall projection for this year is for the TNX to come down to here. All right. So we'll make that nice, short, and sweet. Next thing that I want to be looking at with you all is going to be the skew. All right. Skew is very important. I've also been hitting on this really hard the last couple weeks to let you guys know that this was very rare, very uncommon, and that most, at least I think big money, you're making money from the euphoria side or the fear side. And it's been a really long time since we've been into this area here and we were consolidating, which is really, again, if you go back and look, it's not very common that we consolidate for this long. And I just felt like, and again, everybody felt this way, I think, that the market was going to make a big, turn. And it did that to the downside. And you can see these are my levels here. This would say, if my levels are right, this would say that we have more room to move to the downside to create even more fear in the market. And this is typically where I want to be looking to get long. Now, this is for me. Again, this is not financial advice. This level right here for me, especially if the ES and the NASDAQ are at a level that I share with you, and we're down here, I'm buying, 5 days out. So it's basically like a weekly, I'm looking for some kind of relief bounce. Okay. Now, again, disclaimer, I came in this week with a strangle. So I'm on a call side and a put side in the SPY. And I think I did pretty much the same thing with SPX, right? We bought way out of the money, bought some debit spreads and see if we get a big move or not. All right. But once we get here, depending on the timing, if we get there, I'm going to buy some probably out of the money calls just to see if they work. The market, every time we've come down into this area for about a year and a half, has actually rallied really hard. And so go figure, right? Fear comes in, market rallies, and people are kind of shocked, if you will. But I love these areas. I believe this is where, you can do really, really well in the market. It's a little bit more difficult when things are really sideways. Okay. Anyways, that's what I see in the skew. And again, it was at 138. So, there is some fear in the market, guys. And we can see that by coming over here and taking a look at the fear and greed index. It is at 29. I want to say we were at 54. So big change. And it's saying we were neutral at 53 last week, and you can see big change. So what does this mean? It means that the majority of participants are jumping on the put side. They probably, people got shaken out of their trades. It's not a time for me, like I started this video off. I'm not sitting here trying to brag about, hey, I made money, or hey, look at me, I called this. I think that I always think about how people go through losses, and I hate that for people. And I don't care who you are. Um, I guarantee you that the majority of people probably went home with some losses last week in some way or another. Like, just because you made money on a couple puts doesn't mean that your long-term investment didn't get smacked, or maybe you just bought something at the top. So again, guys, this is a time for me to make sure that that I'm sincerely saying, like, I hate it. I hate it. I hate to see that for people. So if you had a hard time, keep your chin up. Things will get better. Okay. Anyways, let's move on. So obviously, people are fearful. The next thing that I want to be looking at is one of my favorites, ES futures. So we're going to come over to the ES futures and take a look here at the charts, and we're going to dive from a weekly down into a smaller time frame. And here on the ES futures, we actually came into the 9 EMA. Okay, and on the SPY, we're not quite there, but on the ES, we did. And if you've been doing this a long time, you'll know that sometimes one of those instruments might come into a level before, and that instrument may be the leader, if you will. So I understand that ES, right? Basically, one contract at ES is 500 shares of the SPY. Okay. And we came into the 9 EMA, but we also have a buy zone that's down here around 64.90, which is about another 60 points to the downside. If we come into that area tonight, I'm probably looking at adding into a swing long trade, and I'll get stopped out. I'll put my risk tolerance on it. If I get stopped, then I'll just try again at another zone. Okay, but that is an area where I'm interested to see if people show up. Um, if for some reason we take out all of this support in here and we head down to here, that changes a lot of things, but most likely gets us back closer to the quarterly 9 EMA. And we'll look here in a few minutes. This is 6,000. And let's see, let's look at the quarterly real quick. That's around 58. So, I mean, that's still another 200 points under there. But 6,000 is another buy zone if we were to get into there, okay? Currently, on the quarterly, it looks just like the SPY. We're at the inside. We pulled back a little bit. My projection is still 7,000. That hasn't changed. Update for those who are in the SPX room with me. I did close my long-term 7,000 pin. So we had 100 wides on the butterflies for the end of year. We closed that for about 100% or so, something like that. And I am going to buy them again. So I'm hoping, I shouldn't say I'm hoping, if we get more of a pullback, then I will rebuy those again, and look for that pin. And I would try to time them to where I feel like it's max fear in the market so that I can get a good price for those pins. Okay. All right. So again, that's the quarterly. I showed you the weekly. Now let's get into the daily. So this was 2 days. All right. And we look for cycles 2 to 3. And then usually around 2 to 3, you're going to see some sort of, in this case, would be a bounce, a little bit of consolidation, and we will get that relief bounce I was talking about. Now on here, I have trigger longs. Our first trigger long actually worked for a bit last week, and then it just flushed 2 trigger longs after that. And this is what I'm left with. And if you look here on the daily, we have an inside and up formation here, but we have a lot of inside and up formations, and we have a lot of candles that say, hey, we could have support here. So I hate to say it, but this entire area in here, instead of trying to like surgically tell you exactly where we're going to go long, I have a couple areas in here of interest where we could see those, and they line up with a lot of the other time frames, and I'm just using Fibonacci and structure. Okay. The next thing that I'm going to look at is going to be the 4 hour. Obviously, when you look at this, if you guys have some time in the seat, this is a very, very ugly move down here. And what has happened is that price moves so quickly. Now we have a lot of diversion between the cloud and here. And we always know, just like this is crazy, Friday morning, I kind of got preachy and I made sure I was talking to the room. I was talking to 3 different rooms at once, and my whole thing was it's not about if, it's when. Timing is always the variable, like we knew that, hey, it's not about if, it's when that this candle, it was up here when I was giving this, literally, probably about 30 to maybe an hour after this speech. I said it's about if, it's not about, right? And then boom, we hit it, right? And you look at it and you go, oh well, that's not a whole lot. That's like 240 points down is what happened. It was pretty crazy. So when I get into this, now I'm going to tell you the same thing. Prices always move back up towards the cloud. Okay. It's not about if, it's when. And we're not going to try to time it perfectly if it happens, at a level and we're long. I hope that we're long and that we're doing our thing and we're celebrating. But I love this kind of diversion. We're definitely setting up um, a playing field that looks way better than it was looking. Like this sucks, guys. Trying to buy up here all the time. Now we've created a playing field. And a matter of fact, the reason why I throw these 4 hour charts on here is to show you how much range we have as of Friday's close. Between the weekly edges, we have over 200 points here. All right, so 200 points to play with, that's a lot of money that can be made. So just know that. All right. Again, on the 4 hour, if we continue to flush, we could see prices move down towards these green zones. We'll talk about them during the intraday. So again, guys, but this is what we see for right now. Let's go over here to the NASDAQ. On the NASDAQ, same thing. Let's look at the quarterly real quick. We got really close up here towards a projection. Still think that we come up here. The 9 EMA is not really that far away. I mean, it is, but it doesn't look too bad. I still believe that we can close with 3 white soldiers by the end of the year. My projection was that we would quickly come back off of some sort of catalyst, and it just so happened to happen right after I had that little speech. And it's working out so far perfectly. I do want to say something though. I was with a lot of you during the pullback in March or April that we had this past year. It's never comfortable for traders, but I'm going to come in here every single week and have a plan to buy the dip. And my first, buy the dip may not work. My second one may not work, but I have levels and I have a time horizon. So, for example, if you want to hear about that and how I approach my leap trades, make sure you guys sign up and come in the room. If you need some guidance, we have that challenge coming up, but especially during this time that the market's pulling back. Okay. NASDAQ futures, let's look at the weekly. After Friday's pullback, check it out. Came all the way back right to 9 EMA, and we have the golden pocket that is right here. So we, again, like the ES, we have some confluence, and there is reason to believe, if we get like a quick flush on the open tonight, that buyers could step up and you might actually see a green open, but no promises there. I'm just giving you a couple ideas, okay? So we did come into an area where we could see a relief bounce, okay? If we don't, then I think it happens between the 50 and the 618 here, okay? So that is the NASDAQ on the weekly. Let's go ahead and look at the daily. Again, big flush. You guys can see it's getting close to the gap fill. I think this gap was from the rollover, which the ES went straight through that gap. And then we have an inside and up down here at 23,853. Just like the ES, like I said, there's a lot of support in here in this area. And so I don't want to surgically try and like call a bottom here. Once it gets to a level, what I want to do with these triggers is I want to go to a smaller time frame and just see if I can make a little bit of money off the bounce. Okay. As far as resistance goes, what I would expect, let's just say that this was the bottom and we bounce. I think the rally stops here and I think we roll over. This could actually be a short trigger for me. But again, we'll approach it when we get there. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the 4 hour. You'll notice here, again, big moves down. The range is huge for this week. And it, again, we could go lower. I have levels on here. You could see those on the higher time frames as well. But that will lead us now into talking about Bitcoin. Now, last time I checked, my Robinhood account, man, my crypto account took a hit, but who cares, right? I hope that you're in that mindset. Who cares, right? It's bouncing really hard at the moment. Um, it's showing, it's difficult. It shows that we were down 7,100 here today in, Bitcoin futures. It shows that it's up about 2,000 something. And I keep getting alerts that, the the crypto market's rallying. Doesn't mean a whole lot to me because we still have 5 hours before the futures open, but I want to go over these charts with you just to kind of help anyone that's like me and has crypto. So, last week, again, remember quarterly candles can change. It looked really pretty. It was an open candle, but we did feel like it was super extended. I still like my 25 projection. Now we have these top and wicks up here, so we know that we have basically this wall of worry that's in this area. It looks just like the ES futures and the NASDAQ futures. It's extended from the 9 EMA on the quarterly, but instead of you know, being overly concerned about the quarterly, let's just take it into the weekly. We got the big move out of the green box, which is what I gave you several weeks ago. We got exactly what I wanted to see. We made a new high. Things were really happy. And then all of a sudden they're not. Or are we just coming back to kind of come into some support again, right? So this is obviously that broke down below. We can take this off, okay? And these arrows we can take off. And we want to concentrate on the green zone that helped or worked before. This is really your big level for this week. It's going to be 100. Let's just call it 107,500. So if we break down below that, we could see a move down into this area and then see bounces towards here. Okay. If not, and things get really ugly, it's just going to be one of those years where, man, things look so amazing and then they just came all the way back. Hoping that's not the case, but this area right here looks really strong between 84 and 73. Okay, but again, I'm going to keep the hope alive. I think we find buyers in the ES, the NASDAQ futures, Bitcoin. I don't even know what the catalyst was this week. I seriously do not know. I heard that it had something to do with tariffs or something, but I've not put my attention there. It's not needed. I'm a trader. My thought is to be a trade at my technical levels that I find with you all. Use my process, understand my allocation, chin up. Let's get to business. Let's have a great week. I'll see you guys 1.5 hour before the market opens. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Okay, guys. Have an amazing one. We'll talk soon.